ELI 5. If some animals die without being sheared, then how do the ones in the wild survive? A lot of sheep, llamas, cows, alpacas, and other animals need to be sheared every once in a while or they would face some serious issues. How do the ones in the wild get around this? The wild animals don't need to be sheared. These domesticated animals have been selectively bred for thousands of years to accentuate certain traits, resulting in an animal that is no longer capable of survival without human intervention. It's like English bulldogs. They are actually no longer capable of reproduction on their own. They can only be bred via artificial insemination. Wild wolves don't have that problem. The animals that needs to be sheared in captivity have been purposefully bred for this. The wild animals, and even a lot of the domestic ones, naturally shed their wool as it grows so that it does not get too long. It is only some breeds of these species that needs to be sheared. Domestic wool-bearing livestock have been bred not to naturally lose their winter coats. Their wild counterparts have not and therefore shed naturally. I don't see any responses about the cow part of your question. Cows don't infinitely produce milk. Cows are inseminated, and then their baby is taken away who would otherwise be drinking that milk. I'm sure I'm addition to selective breeding of the answers. But I think a lot of people think cows just produce milk regardless. The baby cows are then used for veal. This only happens with domesticated animals since we breed them to produce a lot more wool than normal. Wild sheep just shed it when it gets warmer. They don't. We breed them to overproduce. And so they do at a rate that wouldn't be sustainable in nature. Did all of you people seriously just learn the word shorn? Kinda wild that we create creatures with selective breeding that have the traits we want. It feels weird to think about. The complete answer for what happens to an animal that needs humans to live, when there aren't any humans, is natural selection. In other words, they die unless they can adapt through either random mutation or ingenuity to not having humans. Just like every other comment said, these animals are not natural and will be the first to go extinct. If we magically disappear or an apocalypse hit us, would have been a fun idea to show massive clumps of wool that has a dead sheep inside in a post-apocalyptic game or movie, or a tour inside a massive industrial chick den farm with all of the massive chicks and so on. Domesticated animals don't survive in the wild usually. Horses probably could, but most cows and sheep absolutely won't. If you're asking how a modern domestic sheep would survive in the wild if it got loose, the answer is it wouldn't, pun very much intended. The wool would overgrow and reduce the chances of survival, if not outright be the primary cause of death. Reading through these comments, there's a pretty big thing people are missing. Animals we have domesticated usually end up with a phenomenal lifespan compared to their wild companions. Horses live till late 20s when domesticated, but they live to like 10 in the wild.